Mets fans, it has taken literally forever. 2 calendar weeks is how long it took, but the New York Mets have finally won a ball game. How we doing, everybody? It's Wardy here, and we're back at it with our latest New York Metropolitan postgame show. Finally, this monkey can be taken off of our back. It has been disgusting. It has been putrid. And don't get me wrong, there are still so many things god-awful about this New York Mets team right now. But nonetheless, we have a lot to break down as Mark Vientos rebounded big time today. First, he makes an unbelievably costly running mistake that we would see going right through third, going right through the stop sign. He sees red and he somehow says go, and he's out by a mile at home. That felt like it was going to cost the Mets in this ball game. Another day where they had terrible fundamental baseball. But thankfully, Mark Vientos was able to clutch up in the 8th inning for this New York Mets team. How we doing, everybody? Hit that like and subscribe button on your way in. We are live in real time. Thank you all so much for being in here. I greatly appreciate that. Hopefully, we are all connected and getting everything sorted out here. I want to make sure that you guys can see and hear me fine. Let's get the W spam. Don't hesitate, everybody. Spam in the chat right now. I want to see all your immediate reactions. I want to see the hype. I want to see the love. I want to see the optimism. The optimism has to be 100% back, right? Because the New York Mets have finally won a ball game. I'm going to be rolling highlights from yesterday's matchup because I don't have them shoved up for today's game. So disregard that if you want to. 2 weeks we are talking about, okay? And that is to do the one, the only, the official, and yes, Francisco Lindor is injured because the baseball gods had to make sure he was injured. That was inevitably going to happen with Juan Soto returning from injury today. Regardless, let's let it rip as we always do with the one, the only, the 2 weeks removed, but it's back. Post-game jingle, baby. Let's do this. Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan, as always, with the WardyNYM post-game jingle. Love it or hate it, it is here to say. And folks, I have so much to say to each and every one of you. Are we lagging bad? Oh, bad Wi-Fi? We may have a lag issue. Let's see if this gets any better, if it stays worse. Let me know, guys. I think we were probably lagging bad because of the, what was playing. But if it continues to be really, really bad with the lagging, let me know. Let me know. How are we? Is everything okay? Better now? I think it was because of the jingle. I think the jingle made it go absolutely wacky. Are we good? Chat, thank you kindly for doing it. I appreciate it, guys. Nope, still laggy? Still lagging? No, still lagging? Of course. Of course it is. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. We're going to troubleshoot this. Give me 1 second. I know what I got to do. Laggy and Scoopy. Okay. Hold on. All right, guys, how are we now? Are we still lagging? We good? Just making sure. Got to run it through one more time. Just making sure that we're all good. As long as we're all good, we'll let it rip then. Because I hopped on this quick. My computer was acting slow. I said more of that. Make sure that everyone is caught up. Because I want to make sure that it's not one of these things where I'm lagging to people who are behind. Okay, I think we're good. All right, let's... Still lagging? Still lagging. Mother effer. Okay, hold on. Dude, I'm live right now. What do you want? I'm going to have to probably restart, though. It's going to get worse. Okay. All right. All right, guys, let's get into this. Let's break it down. All that you need to know from the New York Mets somehow, some way, taking down the Minnesota Twins tonight by a final score of, yes, you guessed it, it's 3-2, just enough to get the job done. And this one, everybody, you guys can continue to let me know if the connection is too overwhelming for you. We'll change it if need be. Don't mind the lack of highlights beside me, too. I just want to make sure I'm running as little things as possible. That way the quality is okay for each and every one of you. But the first reaction that I need to say is finally, my God, listen, it has been such a drag covering every single game for the past number of weeks where there has been the exact same turnout literally every single time. And I do not look at this Mets team right now and I say, oh, Juan Soto's back, this changes everything. It's a completely different complexion of a club. I don't say that at all. I still look at this team. I see massive flaws. I see Carlos Mendoza, who continues to make me scratch my head when I take a look at the laps he's building. As you guys can see, this was the Mets lap. This is how the ball game ended today. We're going to get into all the key details from Bo Bichette's leadoff double that would come in to actually drive in the Mets' first run of the ball game, which was nice. Juan Soto, of course, got on base twice because he's a lock to get on base 2 to 4 times every single game. We're going to get into Francisco Lindor going down with injury as he was sliding into home that we saw. Again, the baseball gods had to make sure that the Mets aren't allowed to have too many nice things on the one day that they somehow, some way come out with a victory. We're going to get into top to bottom what we liked about tonight's lineup, what we didn't like about tonight's lineup. I did not love some of the matchups that we saw with guys like Tommy Pham towards the end of this lineup today, whereas you had guys like MJ Melendez and Carson Bench that would have been favorable, and certainly pitching matchups. I digress. Nonetheless, the Mets still get the victory. Pitching-wise, Clay Holmes, another day of absolute brilliance. Clay Holmes has been absolutely stellar all season long for this New York Mets team, and I'm excited to break down his outing because he was an absolute bulldog for the New York Mets today. One of the only Mets starters that's been able to provide some form of length for them, going 7 beautiful innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, a 2.1 ERA to begin the season for Mr. Clay Holmes. I want to hear from you Mets fans in the live chat in the comments down below. How would you grade Clay Holmes' final line and why? Thank you guys kindly for that. Also, thank you kindly for hearing from our amazing sponsor today, that being Prize Picks, that has you covered for anything and everything here in sports fantasy. Folks, like I told you, we're going to be building our daily laps, and now that Juan Soto's back, we're holding nothing back. Be on the lookout for tomorrow's lap that we're going to be posting on socials and then reviewing in our post-game breakdown there where Christian Scott toes the rubber for the Mets series finale. Folks, if you want to get in on the action when looking at more or less for strikeouts, hits, RBIs, you name it, our great friends here at Prize Picks have you covered. Don't hesitate. Join millions of users today, especially to all my amazing Mets fans, because it is live in the state of New York now. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Join the millions of users for the best app in the game for all things projections and lineups. All you got to do is download the Prize Picks app and use our promo code HMA. That is going to be promo code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you place your first $5 lineup. One more time, promo code HMA to get $50 after you place your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right, and thankfully, we were right with them with Noah McLean more on strikeouts yesterday. We went more at 6 or more, and of course, he got 10. We also, unfortunately, didn't get Marcus Semien the way that we needed to, but we did go 2 for 4 in our plays yesterday. So get in on it, everybody. Also, shout out to our amazing sponsor, that being in SeatGeek, that has you covered for anything and everything here in the ticketing space. SeatGeek, the official ticketing sponsor of the New York Mets, or should I say the official marketplace of the New York Mets. That's the best way to explain it. Here has you covered. So whether you want Mets tickets now that they're starting to get a win going, and not a winning streak, but they got one win, we know that, or anything in the entertainment space, use the promo code WARDY10 today, link down below, to get 10% off your next ticket purchase. Again, WARDY10 for 10% off your next ticket purchase for all things ticketing with our great friends there at SeatGeek. Now, everybody, let's get into this. I got a lot of breakdown in this one. You know it's going to be a great show when we have the jump scare by accident. I'm loving the grades I'm seeing for Clay Holmes as well. We're going to deep dive his outing here in a second. But listen, this was another far from sexy game for the New York Mets. Let's call it how it is. There was nothing, literally nothing enjoyable about this game for the most part, with the exception of the Mets' early offense. Juan Soto being the man, even when he looked a little rusty coming back, still was able to move Bichette over to third base in this ball game, and that move over allowed Bichette to eventually score with a couple outs. The Mets get that 1-0 lead. Clay Holmes would cough it up, then the Mets get it right back. Francisco Alvarez, who has been pretty much a stud all year so far offensively. I'm not overly surprised to see that, but I hope that both the defense and the offense can come in unison and we get the best version imaginable of Mr. Francisco Alvarez. Not only did Alvarez look good, but obviously Mark Vientos terrible base running blunder late in this ball game when it was tied 2-2 for him to step up the way that he did in the 8th inning to just get a dink in there to drive it a run. Listen, we're going to take it any which way we're going to take it. Do the Mets still have questions they need to answer with guys like Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos and the uncertainty that comes with them as young players? Absolutely. And do I think that the Mets are going to need more change to happen inevitably to do anything of significance this year? Absolutely. I'm still pro part ways with Carlos Mendoza. I'm still pro making a lot of drastic change and fast. One win, a one-run win, is not going to change my viewpoint on that, nor should it change yours as Mets fans. But as we continue on, everybody, a lot of breakdown. Let's begin today's discussion by thanking you guys so much for hitting that like and subscribe button, helping us get to 40,000 subscribers. Folks, we're doing a massive channel giveaway on the platform. Once we do that, we've done jersey giveaways. I'm excited to get everyone hooked up with our latest giveaways on that front. But after every certain amount of subs, you do a big giveaway. 40K, we got a massive one, so get involved. Join the community. Join our membership plans down below, should you guys have interest too. Let's get into these comments. Michael Guido, great member. Thank you so much for gifting the membership, my guy. Very happy to have you in here. We got our guy, DG Ranger Scott, great member, 4 months. We sucked a little less tonight. You're damn right we sucked a little less tonight. We'll take it. Again, not perfect, not sexy, but a win is a win. The skit is completely done. Finally, the Mets, while they will likely continue to be a laughingstock in baseball, for now, for tonight, people can shut the hell up. Scott with the $10 hollow, great member. Alvarez pumped everyone up in the 9th. I heard his voice on SNY behind the plate. Great attitude, Mets win. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the donation. Talking about attitude, I would also like to start today's conversation by getting to Juan Soto's pregame remarks that every little Mets fan and their mother having their you-know-what's in a twist because they're like, oh my God, Juan Soto didn't contact his teammates while he's been out with injury. They've been sucking. How could he do this? Guys, the fact that I didn't even go out my way to make a remark on this on X earlier today should tell you all that you need to know, okay? I can tell you in confidence, as someone who's literally now on-field reporter around the team, I have seen it with my own very eyes. Soto is having a fun, loose time with the players every time that he's been around them while he has physically been around them, okay? It is not normal for a player who's dealing with rehab and ailment to be going out of his way to be talking up with all of his teammates there throughout, especially a losing skit, okay? What is he going to say that's going to change the narrative for them? Because Juan Soto is not the vocal voice, the actual leader of this team in that sense. He is still trying to become that, as we know, as he's getting more comfortable, but he's not someone that we can look at as Mets fans and comfortably say that, oh, this is going to be our hoorah guy walking in the clubhouse. It doesn't matter that he's on a $765 million contract. That's not what he was ever paid to do, because that's not really what he's ever been as a player. Juan Soto has been an elite hitter his entire career and will continue to be. But I just do want to nip this in the butt for a second, as I saw fellow talking heads and fans really running with this. And listen, I'm all for running with things to see if it's a justified narrative, but the fact that I didn't even do that should tell you all that you need to know. Will Salmon, great friend of the platform that many of you guys know of The Athletic, to come out with a really important piece earlier today, breaking down more as to what exactly that was. Why was Juan Soto so comfortable saying that? And talking to other players, again, the common consensus was that this is normal and that this is not something that you should look at and say to yourself, oh my God, Juan Soto is the worst thing imaginable for this team. Like, that's literally not how this works at all, okay? Juan Soto is just doing his typical Juan Soto stuff. Maybe if the team just got their head out of their ass, we wouldn't have to be worried and complaining about literally leaning on one individual player to be messaging other guys, okay? We can't have this thought process of like, oh, the Mets can't lean solely on, that being in Soto when he returns from injury, but then when Soto does actually return from injury, you're like, what do you mean Juan isn't doing everything imaginable for the team? That doesn't make sense to me. Again, you can't have it both ways, everybody. It's one way or the other way, or it's the highway. Now, talking about the New York Mets as they were able to get this 3-2 victory, we do know that, again, Francisco Lindor did exit today's game, unfortunately, with injury. We're waiting to find out more word on that, and I will share that with you guys as soon as we get it, hopefully here in a second. In the meantime, let's get to some more comments. We got Nicholas with the $5 holla. Dreamweaver. Yeah, for Luke Weaver to have the outing that he did today, that was masterful, especially after Clay Holmes dominated the way that he did. Vladimir, great member of 6 months, was at the game yesterday, finally won a game. LF Jam, love to hear that, my guy. Unfortunately, they didn't win yesterday, but at least they won today. NYM Mets, great member with the $10 holla. New streak starts today. You said it, baby. Thank you so much. Nick Lehner, Tanner in here. How we doing? Juliet, thank you so much for gifting a membership. That's very sweet and kind of you. We got Nick saying the following: Soto game picked off in the 8th, and a 2-2 game with a 12-game losing streak is unacceptable, but he looked absolutely locked in at the plate with 2 barrels at 104 miles per hour. He didn't miss a beat, and that is exactly why I haven't even yapped about Juan Soto getting picked off, because listen, even if Juan Soto is going to get picked off, the likelihood of him making up for his runs is honestly 10 times greater than any other New York Met. Casually right now. Let's call it how it is. Juan Soto in his first game back was still locked to get on base multiple times. You literally cannot say that about a single other player that the New York Mets have right now, because that's how incompetent that they have been. Nick, the Mets fanatic, great member of 5 months. Told you, Scott, on the homestand, I'll be there tomorrow. Awesome, my guy. I'm excited to see how Christian can do. Hopefully he dominates and can help secure the first series victory what feels like forever. Listen, guys, the season starts now, right? Wink, wink. Alfredo, the $2 Robert is looking brutal right now. What's going on? What's going on is the ebbs and flows of Luis Robert, who can be as Jekyll and Hyde as any player in the game today. That's what you're seeing. Nick with the $5 thought Soto being back is inevitably going to help him, so he has more stability in the lineup. Thoughts on Mauricio being called up to replace Lindor? He's been hitting well and can play third or short depending on where Bo goes. All depends on the severity of Lindor's injury, so to be determined, but obviously Ronnie would be a likely first thought should that happen. Dave Kaplitz, $2, great friend here. Mauricio must be called up now with Lindor hurt. So you guys are both thinking the same with that, and I commend you for thinking the same there. But let's actually see if we have any remarks regarding Lindor and his injury, and then let's break down this actual ball game together, okay? If you guys have not done so already, continue to hit that like and subscribe on your way. And breaking news, the New York Mets, for the first time in 2 effing weeks, have finally decided to win a ball game. Let's get into this. Let's see if there's anything new here from SNY to share with each and every one of you. Not good. Not good. Okay, here's Carlos Mendoza, Mets skipper, talking about this injury. And no, I'm not excited to share it with you. Here we go.
Do you have an update on Francisco?
No, but we announced the calf. He's gonna get an MRI tomorrow and see what we're dealing here with. Sucks. And when you see a guy like Lindor, for as tough as he is, like I knew right away when he was rounding third base that something wasn't right there. So we'll see what we got.
Did it happen when he was running, or had he?
Yeah, I don't know exactly at what point, but as soon as I saw him rounding third base, and he wasn't running, the way he normally does, like I knew something was up, because he wasn't because of he thought it was an easy play at the plate, and right away he scores, and you could see his face walking towards the dugout. I knew something wasn't.
So, as optimistic as one can be, said absolutely nobody, referring to Carlos Mendoza's remarks to the media today. I don't know about you Mets fans, but that tells me kind of all I need to know. We're going to kind of hope that's a miracle, similar to Juan Soto's injury, that it isn't anything significant there, but knowing that he's already getting the MRI on the calf right after Juan Soto returns again, I think this just perfectly paints a picture of what us Mets fans are sadly going to have to continue to endure as fans, and that is hell. I mean, I'm going to call it how it is. Listen, it's great that the Mets won a ball game today, but it reaches such a moot point when you have Francisco Lindor potentially now going out with injury the same day that Juan Soto returns. We have seen this time and time again as Mets fans, where you have one key starter coming back from injury, for example, like a key top rotation starter for you. Let's say Jacob deGrom, for example. Then as soon as Jake comes back, Scherzer goes down with injury, or Bassett goes down, whatever the case may be. The point that I'm trying to make is, sadly, we are far too familiar with this. So to hear Carlos Mendoza be that honest in regards to it, it does have me feeling that he's going to be out for probably, I'd imagine, anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the severity of this, which just absolutely sucks. Absolutely sucks. We're not allowed to have nice things, and that's what makes winning tonight really already be as just I don't want to say it's not a disheartening win. It just, I can't appreciate it. Can you appreciate, genuinely speaking, Mets fans, watching this live on a replay right now, you won 3-2, okay? You're still 8 games below 500, right? Do you really think that winning this game with Lindor going down with injury makes you overly excited? It was great to initially get the win, but now reality's already kicking in for me. And the Mets don't have Lindor for a period of time while his bat was finally starting to pick it up this past week, especially. If you're not going to have him with Soto's absence, Soto's better than Juan. We know Soto's better than Lindor. That's hilarious what I just said. We all know that from a hitting standpoint. We all know that you want Juan Soto in your lineup every day more than you want Francisco Lindor. That's a fact. Having said that, losing a guy like Lindor when your lineup is top heavy as is right now is a problem. Polanco's obviously out on the injured list. Should have been back over a week ago, but we are absolutely incompetent. We decided to wait north of 3 weeks to finally put him on the injured list. Nonetheless, this is where the New York Mets are now at, and now they are in a position where as soon as you get something, another has to be disregarded. You guys know the cliche line, especially from Marvel, soul for a soul, if you will. That is literally what is happening before our very eyes yet again in Mets land as Juan Soto returns, but Francisco Lindor needs an MRI tomorrow. So we're going to hold our breath to see just how bad that injury actually is. Furthermore, let's get into breaking down this ballgame. As I mentioned, everybody, thank you all so much for the donations, the likes, the subscriptions, everything else in between. I will get to all the donations if there are any new once we're done breaking down this ballgame, because I do not want to waste and hesitate any time whatsoever. Let's rapid fire. Let's break it down, everybody. Let's get into this one together today. And as you guys and gals are going to see here, let's begin with the following. I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to go back to rolling our highlights from yesterday, just so that way there's at least some form of background movement. If that becomes an issue and causes lag, just let me know, and then obviously I'll take them away. I know these aren't today's highlights, but at least you can still witness Noel McLean dominating, doing his sexy thing the way that he typically does out there. Now, the ball game for the New York Mets began with the following. Bo Bichette and leadoff Juan Soto in the 2-hole. Luis Robert batting third. Lindor fourth, who had himself a very good day up until, sadly, we saw what happened with him. Beatty, Alvarez, Vientos, Simeon, Pham, Benj, and Taylor. Okay, everybody. Byron Buxton flew out to begin the ball game. Then Francisco Lindor does a full jump man on Trevor Larnach that we would see for that second out. And then a flat on Josh Bell makes it a nice 1-2-3 to begin the ball game for Mets veteran right-hander and Clay Holmes. In the bottom of the first, we would see Bo Bichette lead off the ball game with his fourth double of the season there. That was a slider that he just turned on that we saw beautifully pulled too. Bo Bichette turning on a baseball, pulling a baseball, things that we really don't know all that well. I got to be completely honest with you. So beyond that, we see Soto fly out that moves the runner to third, that being in Bichette, and then Robert would strike out. Lindor, thankfully, though, clutches up with the RBI knock to make it a 1-0 Mets lead. Lindor got the Mets offense started today, which you love. Sadly, he would not be able to finish it due to injury. At the top of the second, a 1-2-3, all via ground out except for one for Clay Holmes. In the bottom of the second, the Mets go down 1-2-3, but this time the side is struck out. We get absolutely cooked by the Twins. In the second, we get to the third, where we would then see a 1-out single for Royce Lewis, but worked around it beautifully was yet again Clay Holmes. In the bottom of the third, we would see a 1-2-3 from Taylor to Bichette to Soto. In the fourth, Larnach leads off the inning with his third double of the year. That run would come in and score on a Victor Caratini sacrifice fly. Cody Clemens would ground out, but not before it's a tied 1-1 ball game. In the bottom of the fourth, Francisco Lindor, as we saw, had himself a 1-out knock for his second hit of the day. Francisco Alvarez then drives in Francisco Lindor with a 109-mile-per-hour knock for a double, his second double this season. But what's most notable about this double for Alvarez, everybody, is that this was literally basically middle hanging slider against a lefty. Alvarez would have had to be silly to not swing right into that for a clear knock. He does that, makes it 2-1. After the 2-1 lead, we would see Marcus Semien would reach on the throwing error. Alvy gets to third. Marcus would then steal his second base of the year. So you have runners at second and third for the Mets in this one. And then Tommy Pham would fly out there to end the inning. We would get to the fifth. And in the fifth, Matt Wallner with a 1-out knock. And then back-to-back outs there for Clay Holmes yet again. In the bottom of the fifth, Tyrone Taylor would a leadoff fifth. Then a Bo Bichette double play, a Juan Soto 2-out walk, and a Robert whole lot of nothing. We get to the sixth, and what happens? Byron Buxton, who I love, does what Byron Buxton does. Yesterday, Byron takes advantage of Noel McLean going away after telling him my bad for pitching a little inside that he sat on today. It's a meatball of a sinker, middle, little down, but way too much plate by Clay Holmes here, and that is the fifth home run of the year for Byron Buxton, 108 off the bat. He decimated that baseball to tie the ball game. Victor Caratini with a 2-out walk. Cody Clemens with a double. I was sweating, rightfully so, as you would probably be too, Mets fans, because you had runners at second and third here. 2 outs. You're saying, please, can this at least stay a tie ball game? And this blows up on Clay's face right now. We're going to have a major issue, especially in the ability to rally back. It feels like the game's going to be over. Clay Holmes gets rocked here in this inning. Thankfully, he didn't. He would get the pop out and Keishel, and that does it. Strands a pair. We get Brett Beatty doing something that he almost never does, and you have to give credit where credit's due, guys. Brett Beatty's at-bats have looked pitiful majority of the season. Past couple at-bats in this game especially, really good. He works himself a walk for the Mets right away that we would see there in the 6th, and this is a 5-pitch walk that he does a very good job against the southpaw lefty. Alvarez unfortunately grounds into a double play. Then Vientos, we would see get himself on with a walk, but then Simeon, who had himself the double, should have had Mark Vientos staying at third, but Mark deciding to run right through Tim Leiper's stop sign at third base, gets a slice of humble pie, which is an out by a mile there that we would see at home, okay? We would see him out. That does it, stays a tie ball game, but a key opportunity that the Mets, at the time at least, most certainly wasted. As we continue on from there in the 7th inning, it's a 1-2-3. We see from Wallner to Lewis to Lee. Okay, the Mets don't get nearly enough there. The Mets get more than enough, I should say. The Twins are the ones that got nothing there. Royce Lewis struck out as he lone strikeout in that inning. That was the final inning of work today of Clay Holmes that we're going to break down here in a second. But Clay Holmes, another day, another masterful outing. 7 gorgeous innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. We're going to talk more about Clay here for you guys here real shortly. Eric Orsi, the former Mets reliever who, fittingly, now that Christian Scott is returning to the Mets rotation tomorrow, do you guys remember Eric Orsi's Mets debut? Because I remember it like it was yesterday. It's 2024. I want to say it's July. It's in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. Christian Scott can't get out of his own mess yet again, unfortunately, dealing with the soon-to-be reconstructive Tommy John surgery. His partially torn UCL. He's just trying to make it work with the workload that he had. And here comes Eric Orsi trying to clean up his mess. It's like bases juice, less than 2 outs. You're facing Andrew McCutchen on the heart of the order for the Pirates, and they go to town. Eric Orsi has like a 100 ERA to begin his major league career because Christian Scott set him up for a literal failure. And I really hated how Mendoza put him in there for his debut. I still thought that was a silly decision then. I think it's a silly one now. Since then, Eric Orsi had a great year last year for the Tampa Bay Rays, has since been parted with to now be a Minnesota Twin. And as a Minnesota Twin, Orsi got Tommy Pham silly. Pham has looked putrid, obviously, since getting the call by the Mets. He obviously not only looks 38 years old, but he just looks like someone who did not have a proper spring training, and showing that with the slider that missed that was beautifully dotted and swung right through by Tommy Pham for a called strike 3. Pardon me on the swinging through. He didn't even swing. He literally took that, which made it worse because it was a dotted slider down and away. And then we saw Bo Bichette call out strikes for the final out of the inning. So Eric Orsi works a clean 1-2-3, and we head to the 8th, where Brooks Raley gets himself a scoreless inning. Thankfully, he would get himself enough going here because we would see Raley walk Austin Martin, give up a single to Josh Bell. Then you would see Luke Weaver come in after Jeffers would come in. Luke Weaver would then walk. It's bases loaded. Raley can't get the job done. I love Brooks, but he hasn't looked like reliable the way that we need him to be right now. And then Keishel pops out in the infield. Thank God he pops out to Alvarez. And that gets us out of the bases loaded jam. Luke Weaver with some bulldog cojones, and that one we get to the bottom of the 8th, where Juan Soto leads off the inning with a knock. Then we would see Brett Beatty. Unfortunately, while he's batting, Soto would be picked off there. Not ideal to see Soto picked off in that situation at all, but you can tell that he's not someone that's going to be doing that often. I'm not concerned about Soto when it comes to fundamental play the way that I have been about Lindor for a good stretch this season, and now Lindor is likely going to be on the shelf for a good amount of time, which absolutely sucks. Hate to see it. Literally hate to see it. Beatty gets on with his second walk of the game. Alvarez gets on with a walk. Beautiful back-to-back at-bats by the young former baby Mets. Now they're just Mets now. And Mark Vientos trying to make himself known, trying to say, you know what, I can rebound from my terrible base running blunder. And what does he do? He turns on a sinker for a little bloopy that drops 70-mile-per-hour hit. That's all she wrote. That is going to be the game winner. Brett Beatty comes in to score. Mets take a 3-2 lead. Marcus Semien is robbed of another hit today because Byron Buxton does what Byron Buxton does, and that is having gorgeous catches in center field to end the inning. And the 9th, we would see back-to-back strikeouts for Luke Weaver. On Wallner and Royce Lewis, he gives up a 2-out knock to Brooks Lee, but it does not matter. Byron Buxton, who is a stud, he strikes out on the changeup, beautifully placed down and away out of the zone. Luke Weaver secures the save, and the New York Mets, like I said, do something that they have not done in over 2 effing weeks, and that's do this thing called win a ball game. Let's get into Clay Holmes' numbers here in a second. I'm just trying to focus my camera a bit, so give me 1 second while I do that, everybody. If you haven't already, continue to smash that like and subscribe button on your way, and I really appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much for being in here. On to the pitching. Let's talk about it. Mets offense was 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position and left 8 on base today, and they out-hit the Twins 8-7. And there was a one-run difference, so we'll take that for what it is. Pitching-wise, we got a gorgeous outing, like I said, from Clay Holmes. And I need to really get into how good Clay was today, because Clay has been nothing short of impressive since the season began. And let's call it how it is to everybody. Since Clay Holmes made his Mets debut last year as a starter for the first time since 2019 with the Pirates, he's been the most reliable starter for the New York Mets, okay? If anyone goes out of their way to try to tell you that Clay Holmes is not a valuable piece to this rotation, they have no clue what they're talking about. And they're either fair weather or they're talking heads that aren't paying attention. Clay Holmes had over 160 innings last year. Led the Mets right in that regard, right up there at least. You had guys like Peterson up there too. But his effectiveness and his consistency was greater than anyone else. Even when Clay wasn't at his best last year, it wasn't so bad that it was like, oh my God, this guy can't sniff this rotation. He was just going through a rough stretch where you weren't getting the length out of him that you're most certainly looking for. But Clay Holmes is not only providing length for us to a degree now, but he just looks like one of the more polished starters that you're going to get in any rotation. He's looking that good out here. Clay Holmes, the sinker he threw the most by far today. He went heavy sinker usage today against his Twins lineup. 73% of the time, that sat right around 93 miles per hour and had 2,100 on the RPMs. The changeup, 16% of the arsenal, sat right around 88 and also had this time, not even 800 RPMs because it's the changeup, obviously. For context, Noel McLean, because he has so much spin still, is right around 1,200 to 1,500 on the RPM. So basically double Clay Holmes on the changeup because of how they grip it and spin it differently. And you're not trying to spin a changeup, obviously. The sweeper, 9% of the arsenal, right around 82 miles per hour and at 2,800 on the RPMs. Cutter, 1%. He only threw it literally one time today. 90 miles per hour. And the curveball, which he threw only once, he was literally a 3-pitch pitcher today, Clay Holmes. He didn't need to use much of the arsenal the way that he's had to expand in the past to do. Clay Holmes today, guys, 7 masterful innings. He, without hesitation, is getting a 8.5 out of 10. I thought Clay Holmes was fantastic today. Brilliant. And Mets collective pitching staff today, giving up 2 earned in the 9 innings, they're getting a 9 out of 10. I thought the Mets pitching staff collectively was damn fantastic today. They deserve their flowers. Clay Holmes is here to stay too. For people that want to write him off, is not justified. He is absolutely someone that is doing the right thing right now. He's getting the job done. Yeah, Vientos said he saw the stop sign. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make it any better, Mark. It means that you don't really understand how slow you are as a player, which is frustrating considering you're literally the slowest player on the team. But regardless, Mark, you won the game today. I'm not going to complain about it. You got the job done. Just don't do that shit again. It's like Harrison Bader, 2024, trying to like singles into doubles. It just doesn't work. Stop trying to do something that you shouldn't be doing, and everything's going to be fine. Trying to do too much. Literally, that was a prime example of trying to do too much. If you were not only, Mark Vientos, but just this Mets team. They've been pressing so much, and we've been hearing them talk about how they're going out of their way to do more than what they typically do. And therein lies the problem. You can't be doing that, okay? It's going to cost this Mets team games. Just play your game. Stop trying to do extra. Stop trying to do more. The Mets are never going to be able to get consistency of winning if we approach games where it's like, I have to do so much more than I previously was doing because we're on a losing skid. No, just play your game the way that you're supposed to play it, because you pressing is also becoming a negative for this club. The Mets pitching staff, they get a 9 out of 10. Mets hitting wise, again, nothing sexy today. I'm not going to say it was because it most certainly wasn't. This was the Mets offense as follows. Bo Bichette with the double, 222 average, 220 average and a 545 OPS for Bo Bichette with a run scored. Juan Soto 1 for 3 with the pickoff, but has a walk and a hit. 353 average and 921 OPS. You want to know what Juan Soto has done that no other Mets hitter has done this year? That's record a hit in every single game he's played for the Mets so far this season. I understand Juan Soto missed 2+ weeks. I get that. But still, he's the only Met to this point that has been able to, in fact, hit every single game that he's played this season. And yes, you missed the jingle, my friend. We did the jingle earlier in the show. Luis Robert went 0 for 231 average, 666 OPS. He's not looking good right now. I hate that as a Lou Bob guy. Not getting that. I know he doesn't like Lou Bob as a nickname, so I retract that. Luis Robert, I apologize. We need to get you back and locked in. Hopefully Soto back, your buddy, because we know you love Juan on this team, will help in that regard. Francisco Lindor being out with injury is not going to help, though, because it's going to change the complexion and the depth of this lineup yet again. 2 for 2 with a run scored and an RBI, 226 average, 669 OPS. Right as Lindor really looked like he's finally starting to get locked in, looking more himself at the plate, he goes down with injury, and he's getting an MRI tomorrow per Mets skipper Carlos Mendoza, because of course he is. We're not allowed to have nice things. Brett Beatty had a run scored and 2 walks today, 209 average, 520 OPS. Alvarez 1 for 3 with the RBI double that drove in Lindor, 254 average, 841 OPS. Mark Vientos 1 for 3 with a clutch game-winning RBI and a walk and 2 strikeouts, 237 average, 654 OPS. Marcus Semien 1 for 4 today with the double, a 226 average, 600 OPS. Tommy Pham 0 for pair of strikeouts, is yet to record a hit as a Met this season. Carson Bench came in as a late game replacement defensively, and Tyron Taylor and Wright 1 for 3 with a strikeout, 212 average, 568 OPS. Mets had an expected batting average tonight of a 272 of 257 of the Minnesota Twins. Collectively, if I had to give the Mets a grade offensively today on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give them the amount of runs that they gave us, and that is going to be a 3 out of 10, because this offense has been pretty much god-awful almost every single game this season. I'm not going to give them a much benefit of the doubt. They have looked like shit, and just because you win today doesn't change that fact. It doesn't change the lack of, I think, proper decision-making at times made by Carlos Mendoza with just his lineup decisions as a whole. It doesn't change the continued lack of fundamental baseball where you're literally having guys like Vientos know full well that they see the stop sign at third and still running through it. If it wasn't for Vientos' little bloop, I was so mentally prepared to rapid fire and really break down in the thick of it. So much that is wrong about this Mets team right now. And I still feel inclined to say a lot of it because there wasn't very encouraging signs from today's game. And I'm not going to sit here and try to sell to you guys that, because we won today, that everything changes. No, it most certainly doesn't. I mean, there's a reason why we got myself, my buddies Mark and James, Evan, like everyone in the talking head space has been essentially saying how this Mets season is over. It kind of feels over, but maybe, just maybe, it isn't over. Maybe, just maybe, there is truth to you can't write off a team in April, as much as it has been hard to buy in to what they've been trying to sell to us, okay? When I look at this Mets team right now, I look at a team that just has so much dysfunction. I look at a team that is very uninspiring to watch. I look at a club that has to do so much still to get right, and I hope that they can do that. But I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys and tell you that I enjoyed watching this ball game today, because I didn't. Other than Clay Holmes doing his thing, I really did not. Let me get this camera locked in, because of course we have to go out of focus at least 10 times every show lately, and I know it's because I haven't done my backdrop yet, and that's completely on me. Give me 1 second as I try to get this thing focused. Here we go. Okay. So to everyone watching live on a replay, my next remark that I'd like to share and really ask you guys too is the following. The Mets won tonight. They won 3-2 in a very dicey fashion. Do you think that this is all they needed to finally start to get on a run now? Do you think that the Mets just finally gained this big monkey off their back, this immense weight off their shoulders is all that they needed in the end to put themselves in the right direction to finally get back in a flow of things? Or do you think that between the Mets just scratching out a win tonight and having Francisco Lindor injured, that they're still in a position where essentially it's no different than what it was 24 hours ago? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them in the live chat, and to our replay viewers, let me know in the comments down below. Again, I would be even more optimistic about this if the Mets were just in a position where Lindor was healthy. Like, it never a dull moment with this team. Literally never a dull moment. There always has to be something that's going awry with them every single time, literally. And when you have the amount of guys that have not been collectively hitting, that too lies the problem. Juan Soto's going to help, obviously. Juan Soto is 1,000% going to be doing a very good job in helping hopefully bring some stability and consistency to this Mets lineup, regardless of Lindor's status. But right now, it really is disheartening to see them win this game and then find out the Lindor stuff that we know to this point. So until we really know clarity on Lindor, I'm just on complete standby when it comes to really how I should feel. But anything else that's kind of going on now, and then you look at if there's one other positive to take away besides the Mets winning today, besides Juan Soto obviously returning, and besides Francisco Lindor having a great offensive day before going down with injury, I think if it's not Clay Holmes, guys, let's take a moment to really appreciate Luke Weaver, okay? Luke Weaver had a bulldog out today. The Mets needed Luke Weaver to step up, and he stepped up. He threw 30 pitches in 1.1 innings and got himself out of his own jams unscathed. You know, that's a big deal to do, especially when the Mets have struggled so mightily when it's been with having runners on base. base. Think about it. The Mets' past number of outings, it feels, ability to get those inherited runners out have felt near impossible to do, because whether it's a Huascar Brosman, whether it's Brooks Raley even, or even Luke Weaver for that matter, whoever has been coming in lately with runners on base, it's been a problem. Lag is back. I see that, everybody. We're gonna adjust that. I think the lag is back more so because of the highlights that we're running. So hopefully that adjusts and fixes itself. But if it doesn't, you guys let me know, and then we'll do what we got to do from there. The lag went away for a bit because I think I was not running too much. So maybe if I go ahead and just minimize this again, we don't have too much left to talk about in this show, thankfully. But yeah, the lag today was kind of brutal. Shout out to my PC for running literally 10 times longer than I needed to when I was getting this all ramped up today. Unfortunately, that stuff just happens at times. Even when you think you have everything prepped, doesn't necessarily mean that you do. So yeah, I shut off all the highlights. We should be good now. Just give it a second. It literally just happens because sometimes there's too many things running, and it gets kind of bothered by that, obviously. So that's okay. If we have to take away the highlights, even though they're not even today's game highlights, we'll do that without a problem. Now, Luke Weaver, like I said, looked really, really good today. Luke Weaver, here was his arsenal, okay? The changeup that he threw 50% of the time, sat right around 87, actually had some juice on it today. And the four-seam fastball that he threw 47% of the time was right around 95. The RPMs on the four-seam were right around 2,500, and the changeup was right around 1,800. So Clay Holmes' changeup has no spin at all, right around 700 to 800. To have 1,000% more on the spin, and Luke Weaver just shows you the variation that one can have from one changeup to an next. But Luke Weaver did his job tremendous today. I'm really, really encouraged to see that. I also really appreciate all the donations and the likes, so thank you guys kindly for that. I'm going to address some of those now, and then we'll continue on from there. We will probably be wrapping up the show here because we are 40-plus minutes, and we'll be wrapping, I would say, probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes because I'm not going to be too long-winded tonight. We have more content dropping tomorrow, including another video that I'll have for you guys before the Mets postgame tomorrow. Then we'll have postgame coverage and then everything else from that point on. Juliet Hawkins, $2 holla, great member. Thank you, Juliet. She says, so what do you think of Williams as our closer? What I think as Devin Williams as our closer is not encouraged by it right now. But I also know it's hard for someone like Devin Williams to try to close games when he has not been in a closer circumstance literally since essentially the start of the season. We have to view that for what it is too. I know he pitched like dog shit yesterday. I'm not here to defend that outing. But what I am here to explain is it makes levels of sense as to why a player like him is having some of his struggles, especially when he's not been put in ideal circumstances to have success. That was the first semi-high leverage circumstance that he had been in a hot minute when we look at the tied ball game. Okay, so listen, did Devin Williams crumble? 1,000%. That's been a problem. It's been a problem when we look back to the Cubs series too for him to blow it against Michael Conforto. But this type of implosion, I really do think has to do with him still getting acclimated, obviously, to the Mets, not just New York, but the Mets in general now, and really just not being in the right circumstances. So he hasn't pitched well. I'm not encouraged with Devin Williams to this point. I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on something that's different from reality. What I will say, though, is that like what the Mets will inevitably do, whether you guys like it or not, I'm going to give a leash on my opinion with Devin Williams. Do I think that he should be the Mets closer right now? No. Obviously, I don't think that. But the counter is who should it be, right? You know, I told you guys heading into the season that guys like Ryan Lambert, you can fully expect to be getting looks. Like, that is something that will inevitably happen, right? Ryan Lambert is someone who I think is going to get closer looks with this team sooner rather than later. You can also make the argument with Dylan Ross. Once he really gets ramped up, once he gets going, and once he's really being that guy that us Mets fans expect him to be. Again, let's not forget, Dylan Ross is someone that we thought was going to be in this bullpen beginning spring training, but then was dealing with ailment. He literally just threw his first rehab game a couple days ago. So these are flamethrowers in the org that the Mets have at their disposal to consider. I do think that they will consider them, but in the meantime, consider someone like Austin Warren a bit more. He looked tremendous. And he went from Mets fans kind of mocking him for, getting just outs on swings and misses after Devin Williams shit the bed to actually being a guy that the fan base was rallying around. I see upside there. It just, unfortunately, in how this bullpen was constructed by David Stearns, there's 1 to 2 more question marks in this bullpen than what you want there to be. And that obviously sucks. I will fix the focus now on the camera because it's been going out of focus literally every 2 seconds. Hold on, everybody. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, we should be good now. Beautiful. Let's see. Malvar with the $5 holla states the following. Wardy, after a Mets win is like music to my ears. Pure, unfiltered joy blasting at full volume. Oh, I'm happy to hear that, Malvar. I am. I really am, especially with all the struggles that the Mets have been going through lately. Thank you so much for the kind words and for the donation and for chiming in. I appreciate you greatly. One final thing that I do want to share with you all before I get out of here is because the Mets won, I finally have something positive regarding the Mets I can promote. Do I think the Mets are going to be in a much better position by this date of June 12th of this year? I hope. I have no clue, but we still have this happening regardless. Everybody, our second annual Wardy Day is here. In case you guys and gals have interest, in case you guys don't know Wardy Day, it is an event that we do at Citi Field where you hang out with yours truly for an entire Mets game. It's a lot of fun. We sold out last year. We have a lot of people returning this year. And folks, our cutoff, our deadline, where you need to buy tickets by is literally May 10th, okay? It is April 22nd right now. We do not have many tickets left. The cutoff is May 10th. So if you guys want to get in on Wardy Day for this year and hang out with yours truly and get awesome perks for an entire ball game, don't hesitate. Click the link that I have available down below in the description. When you see Wardy Day tickets here, click on that. Because what you get with your Wardy Day ticket purchase is the following. You get pregame on-field access with your guy Wardy, where we're going to do a big group photo op. You also are going to be getting an $18 food and drink voucher that you can use anywhere around the stadium. You're going to be sitting with myself and other amazing Mets fans here in this community that you guys may interact with in the live streams all the time by literally hanging out with us in the left field lounge. It's an exclusive lounge area that's booth seating, not normal standardized seating at a ballpark. It's different in its own unique way. It's very comfortable, and you can mix and match your seats throughout the game, so you don't need to stay in that same spot if you don't want to. You also are going to be getting exclusive merchandise. To only people that attend Wardy Day, you guys are getting the following. You are going to be getting a shirt that says Wardy Day 2026 with my logo on it, and you also are going to be a part of the first 15,000 that attend the game that day, which means you're going to be getting a Naruto Mets themed jersey that will be given away to the first 15,000 at Citi Field. So you're getting two different giveaways. You're getting an exclusive Wardy Day merch that is the first and only of its kind. Two people that attend this event. You're getting a Naruto Mets themed jersey as well. And the best part, if you guys are enjoyers of alcoholic beverages, open bar, baby, okay? We know it's very expensive to get alcoholic beverages at Citi Field. That's why this is built in with your ticket, and that's why your ticket is obviously not overly cheap. So when you guys go to purchase and you're wondering why is the price the way that is, it's because of everything that I just explained. The Mets obviously having absurd rates for their tickets as is. I'm barely making an ROI on this, even with everything set to sell out yet again with how things are looking. But you're getting open bar pregame until they stop serving out of the ballpark. Again, that is pregame until they stop serving late in the ball game. So that's a lot of time to be pounding your drinks, enjoying your time, having an amazing, unhinged time with your guy Wardy and everyone else here in the Mets community. So I hope to see you guys there June 12th, Mets versus Atlanta Braves. You guys see the date there. Hopefully the Mets have themselves a much more favorable team by the time we reach June. It's good that we didn't do Wardy Day here in April, but hopefully the season isn't completely ran off by then, the way that it has kind of felt that way to a degree right now. Thank you guys for checking out Wardy Day. Thank you so much. I'm Sovereign Fan Stack with the membership. I appreciate that. To my members, be on the lookout for new emojis that are long overdue that I got to update you guys. Thank you guys and gals so much for the kind words. I really, really think it is appreciated. I not only think, I know it's appreciated. And I will see you all here real soon with more content tomorrow and a post game as always. Thank you guys again, everybody. And as always, no matter what, let's go Mets. Have a